Good day, my happy friends. I am Drew Eric Miller, and thanks for choosing my podcast. With so much content in the world today, it's my honor to bring you just a little more happiness with each listen. I used to wonder, can I be happier? Can I live a rich, abundant life? Can I dream big and manifest my dreams? The short answer is yes, I can. After much dedicated research, I have discovered beneficial action steps, tools, and life hacks while thriving on my journey to deep and meaningful happiness. In this podcast, I am sharing my research so you too can thrive on your journey to happiness. So get comfortable with a notepad or journal, and together we will manifest happiness. Our question today is, can I pursue happiness? Happiness, the pursuit of happiness, has become synonymous with life and liberty. But how much time do we actually spend pursuing happiness? A lot of people don't spend any time at all. It's like finding a penny on the street for them. Oh, look, a penny. Oh, look, happiness. Oh, wow, isn't that nice? Or hearing surprisingly good news on occasion. Like, that is not how we pursue happiness. We just don't stumble upon it. Happiness is a choice that we need to make in our life every day. It's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's just not find happiness, that's the pursuit. It's a pursuit of happiness. We plan our meals, we plan our lives, we have calendars, we plan, we shop for our home. We have all these plans of all these things to do. Why aren't we planning for our happiness? Why aren't we pursuing our happiness versus just stumbling upon it or hoping that it does happen? Because that's not going to. The pursuit of happiness is an activity that we need to include in our daily practice. Otherwise, our life continues as it always has, with finding the occasional penny or occasionally hearing the good news. And that's not enough good in my life. And it shouldn't be enough good in your life. So why don't we? Because it's not our practice. We're not used to it. We haven't over the generations thought about happiness as something that we need to take action, have action steps to pursue and acquire. And it's just now in these later generations, which I'll be talking about, that we are discovering that that is a priority of ours, and that is what we want. And that's what this podcast is for. So welcome to episode 8. We are in a new era, an era of happiness. And this is unprecedented for all the centuries and centuries before. We have never been so focused on personal happiness, and that's a good thing. Not that the past generations didn't have happiness. They did, but there were so many other boundaries and barriers preventing their happiness that were out of their control. But now, in present day, we have new careers popping up all the time, new directions and new possibilities to really explore and to find greater joy and happiness in the pursuit of life. We are letting go of the old ideologies and the old ways of living and the old ways that our predecessors and generations before us lived their life. We're no longer having to conform to those restrictions and those boundaries. AI is currently eliminating jobs so that it is going to free up some time for us to create new career opportunities. And in my opinion, and I'd love to hear back from you what people think from listening to this podcast, but in my opinion, and please share with me your thoughts, I think that this era is becoming a new revolutionary era geared around self-help, self-development, pursuit of happiness, joy, and experience. And I'll explain why in this podcast. I love the nuances of the different generations, and I'll start with the silent generation that was 1928 to 1945. This generation had longevity. They were being raised after the crash of the stock markets, and so they were being raised in the era of money is tight, always save, always protect yourself, always make sure that you are doing everything you can to have food on the table, because you never know when there's going to be another crash. You never know when it's all going to be taken away from you again. And so they were very much interested in survival and longevity and having enough to get by. And pursuit of happiness wasn't really a concern of theirs, because that wasn't the generational thing to experience. And so they stayed at a job for their entire life and had that once a year or twice a year vacation that they had with their family. So the only joy that they had was the occasional vacation that they got, or the weekends or nights that they didn't have to work. And they didn't choose their careers. They happened upon it, and they ended up staying in those careers throughout their entire lifetime. And it was an existence. I remember listening to Michelle Obama's book when she was telling her mother that she wanted to change careers from a lawyer to going to the nonprofit, because she felt that being in the nonprofit industry was going to make her more happy. And her mom's reply, coming from, I believe she's a silent generation, but coming from that era, she was like, who's happy at work? Work is just a job that you do to put food on the table and to take care of your family. Like, people aren't happy at work. And so she couldn't understand how somebody would want to leave a very good career to make a career change, because that wasn't in her existence, in her mind, because her generation didn't do that. They stayed in the job forever, whether they liked it or not. They didn't even choose it. And now here her daughter is talking about choosing a different career, which is it's just foreign language to her. So let's think about that for a second. Think about working at a job your whole life that you didn't choose for yourself, you didn't like, you just went and experienced it day after day, and you never once thought about happiness, because happiness wasn't where people thought. They didn't think about that for themselves. And so that 1 week of vacation a year, or maybe 2 weeks, was all that they got. The rest of the time they spent, just at home or with friends or barbecues or weekends or anything, but in their family. Their early memories are hold back your money, don't spend, be frugal. You could always be homeless anytime, and it can always go sad or bad. So that's why they didn't think about it. So now we get into the baby boomers, which was 1946 to 1964. So they were the first generation to choose their careers and have great success with, financial abundance, with success, with family, making money. Just think about when they were in their mid years, the 80s, the opulent 80s was, the late 70s, the early 80s was their period for the boomers, and things were great. Money was great. Things were happening, and they were doing something that they got to choose. They had some education, and they enjoyed themselves a little bit more. Then we go into Generation X, which is my generation. And they are the first generation to desire a work-life balance. Now, Generation X is 1964 to 1980, and for the first time, they saw the baby boomers, their parents, as workaholics. They saw them working too hard at jobs that they chose but didn't necessarily like. Not spending a lot of time at home. The Generation X was the latchkey generation. And so they were making their choices when they were acquiring careers that they wanted a more balanced life, a more balance of work and happiness. For the first time in the world's history, the Generation X is the first generation that ever consciously chose a work happiness balance. And for the first time in our country's history and in the world, the pursuit of happiness is equal to the pursuit of a career. And that is revolutionary because happiness is becoming equally as important as your job or your career, or how you make money. Now, the millennials have a fresh new set of values, and that is from 1981 to 1996, where they continue to evolve past the Generation X, past the generation of wanting balance, and now they're going to start leaning towards, we want to be a little happier than the predecessors, which is the Generation X, which is their parents. So instead of choosing to save their money and choosing to purchase homes or cars or expensive things, they're choosing to spend their money on experiences, travel, and things that aren't about establishment and home building, and they're choosing not to have families right away either. So they're choosing to have families later than their predecessors. And so for the first time, happiness has taken a majority of their interest, and work is now becoming under happiness. So their pursuit of enjoyment of concerts and travel and experiences and collaboration with others and their friends and joint experiences is taking a priority over their work experience and their, having a home and doing what their parents did, which was, establishing savings accounts, debt, or homes and cars and all the things that they associate with their parents. They're choosing not to do that, which is revolutionary again. In such a few amount of generations, we're seeing real significant changes going from not paying attention to happiness to where happiness becomes half of the equation. And now we're at an equation where happiness is more than half of what they're interested in. Generation Z is 1997 to 2012. And they're taking it even further than their parents, the millennials, because they're choosing another path for themselves with greater happiness. They're growing up in the technology stage of smartphones and apps and social media. And this is an experience that no other generation has had. And they're the first ones to have it be an everyday part of their life. If there's a joke too, people that are born after 2000, when they talk to somebody that was born in the 1900s, they're always like, wow, I always wondered what it was like to be born in the 1900s. And what can you tell me what it was like to be what it was like to be born in the olden days? So that's not the olden days for me, but that's what they're saying. But it's true though. I mean, they're experiencing a level of instant connection and instant gratification and instant information in a way that has never happened before.
And their big thing is values. They prioritize their values in all of their actions. So their career and their happiness is centered around what they believe are the causes and values that they represent and internalize, and then they want to experience that. And they don't want to do anything that they feel is not in line with their values. So they're not just pursuing happiness. Now they're saying that in order for them to be happy, they recognize happiness is their baseline right there. And in order for them to be happy, they have to live a life that is true to their values. And their values drive their work experience and their happiness and their activities. You can't separate their values from their happiness and their work and their job. And so being in that social media life, growing up in that connection, they are a little bit more clear on who it is that they want to be. And that includes happiness. Well, Generation Alpha is the new generation that is starting in 2013 to today. And we know that much about them. Obviously, they've had all their social media has been well adapted into their life, and they're going to have a different experience than their parents and the generations before them. And we look forward to learning about that. And I'm sure that their parents teaching them about values is going to have a big impact on them as well. So with each generation, happiness has become an intrinsic value. Since Generation X, we are bringing happiness into the trend and are choosing to be more happy than we have ever in history. And that's amazing. That is revolutionary that this is our experience now. It's trending. Happiness is trending. With the beginning of the 21st century, the self-help industry is booming with authors and writing and just everything imaginable. All we're seeing and content in our social medias and in all directions is all people talking about trauma and self-help and giving and careers that help others. I'm a coach, a life coach, spirituality, doing all kinds of things that are centered around personal growth, development, and happiness. And that is a 21st century remarkable experience. New career paths are being created, and they're focused on people's enjoyments, their passions, and their values. And that is never seen before. Passion and values and happiness are mainstream in our pursuit. No longer are we allowing just existence. So let's think about these new career paths. So let's think back to the agricultural age, which, in the mid-1900s was up to 40% of the people that lived in the United States were involved in some way or form in the plant or food or agricultural or meats or something of that producing, which is unheard of now because more businesses are taking over all those responsibilities for us. And so they need fewer people, and we don't need to have, all the farms that we have when fewer people are doing all the work. Then the silent generation left the farms, and up till the mid-70s, they joined the manufacturing industry, where those were some of the choices that they made in their longtime jobs and careers. Then we moved into the service industry, which is more boomers and Generation X. So that's IT, that's lawyer services, healthcare, education, finance, teaching, hospitality, and retail are all a part of that service industry, which came after the manufacturing industry. So as you can see, as we progress in through time, industries change, people's viewpoints change, and we're continuing to evolve. But what's different now is, for the first time, we're evolving at a much faster pace, and we're evolving towards more greater happiness, which is fantastic for individuals in the world to just be more happy. With the birth of the internet and iPhones, we're moving into a whole new career path for many of the Generation X and the millennials, which takes us into the 2000s, the 21st century, which is centered on greater happiness. You've got podcasts, you've got people writing books, you've got influencers, you've got the internet that is just, social media is inundated with all kinds of available content from content creators, all geared towards helping people be happier. With the launch of Amazon Kindle book publishing in 2007, we had an all abundant new authors being able to produce and publish their own books. I myself have published my book through the Amazon, publishing version. And that just is creating so much more new opportunity for people to get out there and be of service and support other people on their journey to happiness. Then you've got the social media influencers, who range from 18 to 34, let's say. And some of them are doing very well and making money. And that's a career that, that was just unheard of, or even today we're still questioning, like, wow, is that really a thing? But it totally is. It totally is a thing. I was watching on CBS Sunday Morning, because I love that show, and they were talking to Flo, the Progressive insurance person. If you really think about it, she is an influencer, and she gets paid to be an influencer, and it's just through her commercials with Progressive Insurance. And so I'm just kind of putting this together too, because I just watched that earlier today. But yeah, being an influencer, it doesn't even matter if you're getting paid to do commercials or you're getting paid to do it through social media or TikTok or anything else like that. You're getting paid to influence people's decision making, and that's something new that we've never seen before. And a lot of people are enjoying this new career path, bringing them greater happiness. YouTube was the invention in 2005 that has just created an abundance of content that is constantly being developed and launched and put out into the world, where people are just, whether they're doing hobbies or they're doing work or they're doing it for anything from knitting examples. I saw there was a man that decided that he was going to do how to fix things in your house for young men that don't have fathers. And so he wanted to do all these how-to videos as a father, teaching all the young men in the world on how to do things. And it's a beautiful story, and it's become quite popular, for that purpose. There's even the career of I can't think of the name of it right now, but the sound thing where they crackle of plastic paper and they break pop bubbles, bubble wrap, and all that thing. That's a career too. People have quit their jobs just to be, more of those content creators for those sound stuff. I can't remember what the name of that is. Somebody will tell me in the comments. So every day people are choosing to create a happier life. And that is our choice. In the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness, people are choosing to make new choices that are going to increase their happiness. So why am I telling you all this? Because happiness is trending. And you have to look at your life and evaluate, where are the areas that I can improve my happiness? People are choosing happiness over failed careers, over bad relationships, over friends that are no longer working for them. People are no longer staying in unhappy situations or places that don't bring them joy and happiness, and they're walking away. And that's so good because we are not trapped. We're not a part of the silent generation. We're not forced to stay in the job for a lifetime. Those days are gone. I've been watching The Gilded Age with a lot of people right now, and what really strikes me is that self-expression and happiness and choices and being able to live your authentic life and people's individual rights weren't allowed during that time period. It was very restricted according to protocol, according to what was done out of tradition, what was expected of people. They had class system and racial boundaries, all directly impacting their choices in their life. And so they weren't able to freely express anything. It was a very restrictive time period. And all of history was that way too, because a lot of it revolved around those rules and those guides. So today, 140 years after the Gilded Age, we are pursuing happiness. We are free to make our own choices, and we are free to have greater happiness, greater values in the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. That is where we are. Just 140 years ago, those weren't our options. In the revolution of our country, the United States, they talked about it, but it really hasn't been truly lived until today. Until happiness is trending, and this is where we are. And so I'm encouraging you to choose happiness. So now is your time. So here's your action step. How can you choose life, liberty, and happiness in a new way that you haven't tried before? What can you embrace today that is new, that is going to bring you greater happiness? Because for the first time in the world's history, you can do just that. You can embrace happiness. So figure it out and make a plan, because life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are yours now. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to you listening next week.